Um, Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call the meeting of the Diversity Committee to order, please. My name is Sammy Chu, and I am serving today as the acting chair of the Diversity Committee. I'll try and act well. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge Blanca Lopez. We were co-chairs together of the Railroad Committee, um, and Andrew Albert, who's guesting with us here at the Diversity Committee. Thank you. Do we have any public speakers?
Ipek Fulford, please.
Good afternoon. We have 3 members of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. I would like also to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and the fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. The first speaker will be Jason Anthony, followed by Maddie Bucky's Highline.
Hey, Sammy, and good afternoon, Diversity Committee. It is glad that we finally launched the Convo app. I had the privilege to be in the press conference when the app was launched. I hope that this app will be expanded to other MTA stations and facilities, and we hope that the agency will have more employees that are ASL, that speak ASL. But one thing is for certain. We should be aware that the federal government is, let's say, deporting, very sadly, even U.S. citizens to other countries or green card holders to other countries, and we should be aware of this. And I consider New York my home. I was born in New York, in the Bronx, although I live in Brooklyn. But the MTA is like the melting pot. It's a book written by Esmeralda Santiago. I hope that the MTA keeps and continues its practice of hiring the diversity force, mostly veterans, people with disabilities, Latin American workforce, and not being bullied by the current federal administration. So that's all I have for this month. Thank you for letting me speak.
The next speaker is Maddie Bucky's Highline, followed by Alethea Dubras.
Can you guys hear me okay?
We hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matty W. Bucky's Highland, and I'm an advocate for people with disabilities. Today in the Diversity Committee, I do want to express my interest in the autism community because they have rights as well. As we approach 35 years of celebrating the Americans with Disabilities Act, it's important to realize that the MTA has to include diversity, including people with autism. Today, the CDC estimates that 1 in every 36 children in the United States are diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder, and boys are 5 times more likely than girls to be diagnosed with an ASD. I represent a center in West Babylon that helps young people with autism. People with disabilities, and I like when the announcements come on when the people with autism speak. And I want to say this to conclude from the bottom of my heart on behalf of the millions of people all around the world who are dealing with autism. We want to thank the MTA for giving us a great society to live in where we are accepted and understood for who we are. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
The final speaker is Alethea Dubras.
Thank you to the chair, Alita Dupree. For the record, she and her with Team Folds
So I speak about diversity. The reports look good, and thank you for using the more neutral, diverse color palette for the various graphs and circles and charts, and moving away from stereotypical colors. I really appreciate the use of our understanding definitions. We use self-identified a lot, and I support that absolutely 100%. This work of diversity in our agency and our systems is absolutely essential, and it must not stop. I read about another transit agency that I'm not going to name, and I don't know all the facts. I'm not sure the words to use, but I read that that particular unnamed agency is doing away with diversity programs. What could that mean? Could it mean that riders could lose their half-fare eligibility? Could it possibly mean segregated buses and rail cars? Diversity keeps the system honest. It allows us to go out and find the very best, because in order to find the very best, you have to cast a tent far and wide. This is a 75,000 person organization where people can start at the entry level and work their way up to the top. And diversity helps us to do that. And I want us to continue this work of diversity. I'm what diversity looks like. I'm an old soldier. I'm a Jewish service disabled veteran of Desert Storm who wears a skirt at the same time. Thank you for listening.
Chair, that concludes the public comment session.
Thank you very much. Pending a quorum, we will hold our approval of the minutes. And now we will run through our 2025 Diversity Committee work plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The agency's updated EO policies are going to be finalized and made available to the committee during the June 2025 meeting. The 2025 work plan can be found on pages 6 through 8 of the committee workbook. There are no further updates.
Okay, we will hold a vote for a quorum. And now, Lourdes, would you walk us through the executive summary?
Thank you, I will. I can get that. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'd like to start this meeting by just starting on the status of programming at the MTA, and it's less of an update and more of just a statement. The MTA is currently in compliance with all regulations, both at the federal level, which include Title VI and Title VII and the Americans with Disabilities Act, as well as all New York State guidelines. We take the programming that we undertake here at the MTA very seriously, and we intend to continue our commitment to comply with federal and state law moving forward. The next agenda item speaks to the expansion of the Diversity Committee scope. It was a request that came directly from the committee and was approved during our last meeting. The current accessibility activity, as you know, is being reported by the MTA's Chief Diversity Officer, and his reporting is specific to the capital improvement work that is being done by the MTA. The Diversity Committee will be examining reporting on non-capital accessibility activity, both reporting on the workforce of individuals that are voluntarily self-reporting as disabled, as well as providing updates regarding compliance with various New York State executive orders that are specific to the differently abled. Those are specifically New York State Executive Order 31, which commits New York State to becoming a model employer for people with disabilities. That was issued in July of 2023 and requires each state agency to develop an annual plan, which details what steps the agency will take to improve the hiring of people with disabilities and disability inclusiveness. The MTA plan will address reasonable accommodations, recruitment, and communications. New York State Executive Order 40 is committing New York State to be an employment-first state to increase competitive integrated employment for New Yorkers with disabilities, which was issued in September of 2024. That executive order will include information about how state agencies can offer employment services to assist persons with disabilities in obtaining employment services that best meet their needs. The MTA's activities currently are focused on drafting an EO 31 strategic plan that actually it has been developed. We're awaiting guidance from the state on finalizing and addressing implementation. We are also awaiting state guidance on how EO 31 and 40 can be better integrated, considering a path forward. Essentially all EO activity is awaiting further guidance from state in light of the new federal priorities, but we are certainly moving forward on that. The next agenda item is an update on the MTA's MWDBE and SDVOB Advisory Board. We were very pleased to be able to secure the engagement and support of a really varied, talented, and passionate team to support DDCR and the MTA's efforts to engage small businesses in their contracting efforts. Our group includes business advocates, graduates from our small business mentoring program, finance, economic, and community development professionals. Their full bios can be found in the Diversity Committee book starting on page 12 through 15. We launched the advisory board last year. We had our inaugural meeting on December 19th. We kicked off our conversations with presentations on the scope of DDCR and overviews of the MTA's congestion relief and capital plan. We will be next meeting in April. We're going to be drilling down on our contracting activities, exploring how to increase the outreach with small businesses and updating on our local hire initiatives. We're not readily sharing any information that's not already public for the most part. If we ever get close to sharing anything that could potentially arise to a conflict, then we will anticipate and require those participants who may have a conflict to recuse themselves from the discussion, but we've gotten off to a very promising start, and we're very excited about that. If there are no questions, I'll move on. On to our MTA-wide EEO activities, quarter 4 reporting. I'll request that Dr. Green provide her report.
Good afternoon. As of December 31st, 2024, the MTA-wide workforce was 74,721 strong. As you can see, we had 20% representation of individuals that identified as female, 74% self-identified as minorities, and 1% self-identified as individuals with disabilities. Pages 44 through 60 of the diversity book gives a detailed breakdown of all of the EO activity. Next slide, please. Okay. Also, as we look at our new hire and separation statistics, we find that after we, throughout the year, at the very end, we netted with a net increase of 421 individuals, new employees that self-identified as female, and 986 that self-identified as male. So our workforce has increased. Our net increase of minorities was 1,699. For a full detail of hiring trends by agency, you can find that on page 53 of the Diversity Committee book.
With excuses for going backwards in the skip. With excuses for going backwards in the plan, can I just go back to the advisory board, please?
Yes, of course.
I just flipped through, thanks to my seatmate, I flipped through the list. I see a paucity, in fact, I see a complete absence of anyone who is from the service-connected disability veterans side of the house. I see read a lot of the MWDBE side, but zero from the SDVOB side. Given that one of our public speakers and I are both service-connected disabled veterans, it would be, I assume you're evolving to that, but I would like to maybe in the next couple of months understand if we're going to add someone who can bring that perspective, because while it rhymes, it's different.
Completely understand and agree. In fact, we had asked one of our more successful SDVOB firms to participate as part of our advisory board. Unfortunately, he declined to participate, but point very well taken. We will find a replacement and make sure that we add that representation to our board.
Dr. Green?
To conclude, we wanted to go back and respond to a question that came up during the last Diversity Committee meeting, and it pertained to our veteran our representation and the numbers of veteran representation.
Where'd that come from?
No, to be clear, you had asked a question during our last meeting regarding the employment numbers of our service-disabled veterans and our service veterans. We wanted to be responsive.
So there were some changes in our logic and how we capture the veteran data in 2024. Those changes were sparked by our attempt to make sure that when we were counting our numbers for federal reporting, which required that we ensured that we confirmed that the individuals that we counted had honorably discharged from the had honorably discharged as a veteran. So we went back, we remapped, and so that impacted some of our numbers. But what we did do is we went back and we looked at over the last 5 years, and we did a 5-year trending analysis. And the veteran workforce percentage has remained stable over the last 5 years when compared to the overall workforce. So as you know, our workforce went from a low of 60-something thousand. I have the numbers here. It went from a low of 69,300 to a high of 74,721 employees. But it remains pretty constant and stable. It was an overall average of 2.8% veteran representation within the workforce. So when we round that up, it's about 3%. When we give the numbers, we actually we count the numbers. So we actually say this many hired, this many separated, and then we also look from year to year. But again, there's a difference there because sometimes the workforce statistics or the overall workforce numbers have changed. And so that impacts what the veteran representation looks like. I'm open for any questions
I
that
was
you may
just
have.
using my friend ChatGPT to answer the question, which would be obvious, which is what percentage of the U.S. workforce then is veterans? And turns out, and I can't validate it, you can tell me how much you do or don't like ChatGPT. I think it's unbelievably useful. 5 to 6% of total civilian labor force is military veterans.
What was the percentage?
This says the U.S. workforce is 5 to 6% veterans. You're reporting 3%. So according to that, we're around half of what the U.S. average is, which is surprising to me. I mean, I know New York is not a huge contributor relative to other parts of the nation to the military, but we're a large employer, and I would have imagined we'd get close to that 5. Again, I can't validate whether that's right, that 5 to 6, but that's at least what, maybe they weren't all honorably discharged, which is a whole other concern. Anyway.
So one of the things that we did do is we also had conversations with each of the chief EO officers within the agencies. We identified the positions or the titles that we were attracting most of the veteran workforce. And so we have talked with emerging talent, our emerging talent team, to talk about what type of increased outreach that we could partake in order to make sure that the word is out there, the awareness is out there, and that we are pulling in that talent. So we have identified at least 8 to 10 opportunities that we can do some targeted outreach there.
Thank you. Next, we'll be reporting on our 2024-25 MWDBE activities, starting with our Small Business Development Program. I'll be asking Deputy Chief Owens.
Thank you, Lourdes. Good afternoon, everybody. The Small Business Development Program contract with McKissick WSP was executed on February 1st, 2025 to manage the small business program and support small businesses in executing MTA construction contracts. We are currently in a transition period, which will last through March 31st, so this is our last full week of transition, although, you know, I'm sure we'll have some more time of transitioning once the full staff is on board. And during this time, we're onboarding staff and collaborating with C&D to ensure a smooth transition. Key changes to the programs are rebrand of Small Business Development Program to EDGE, which is Expansion, Development, Growth, and Equity. And we just started this process. Last week was our first meeting, so I'm excited about that. We also added contract compliance staff to support our Ray Burke and his team, and we have flexibility in the training courses. We're moving to a new, more flexible schedule for the small businesses to match their programs and their workforce. We developed a new alumni program, which is new to the program, so we're excited to see how that works out. And we're establishing business assistance partnerships. So that'll give the firms more opportunities to expand their opportunities, not only within the MTA, but outside of the MTA.
The name of one of my companies is Edgewise Energy, so I approve.
Really?
I approve of the name.
Thank you.
And for the record, there's no relation between the two
No,
efforts. so-
exactly. That was a late night, throw it on the window, Lourdes.
Mine too. Mine probably included more drinks.
But
than
it's
yours.
good. Yeah, we don't do that here. In 2024, we awarded 23 contracts, total an estimated amount of $32 million, and this was due to some projects being on hold due to congestion pricing, so we had some funding issues. The goal for this year, 2025, is approximately $73 million. So we're looking forward to the uptick in the contracts, awards, and the new program moving forward successfully. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. If there are any questions? Moving on to our 2024-25 MWDBE and SDVOB activity, I'll ask Deputy Chief Burke to report.
Good afternoon. The contract compliant unit currently monitors over 1,300 contracts daily, an average of 150 contracts per manager. Monitoring includes, but is not limited to, compliance meetings with prime contractors on contracts not meeting goals. Monitoring also includes site visits, which are scheduled daily and conducted to mitigate and address potential fraud. In 2024, 563 site visits were conducted, an average of almost 50 site visits per month. Waivers are entertained at 75% of contract completion. Waivers are reviewed thoroughly, require adequate good faith effort and documentation, and will not be approved without project management concurrence. DDCR closes contracts after they are closed by the respective agencies. In 2024, the contract compliance unit closed 150 contracts, an average of 12.5 contracts per month. Any questions? No? Okay. Moving on to the highlights. All right. DBE Prime, Voltron Electric was awarded a $49 million contract on a New York City Transit C&D contract. They're an electrical contractor. The DBE subcontractor, Dagnachu and Associates, was awarded a $32 million contract on a New York City C&D contract for electrical wiring. The prime contractor was Judlow. MBE Prime, Zion Construction, was awarded a $51.6 million contract with New York City Transit and C&D for electrical work. MBE subcontractor, RMD Electric, was awarded a $26 million C&D contract for radio communications. Novelist Tile was the prime. WBE Prime, Portec Information Technology, was awarded a $10 million HQ contract for consultant services. WBE subcontractor, Northeast Construction Steel, was awarded a New York City Transit C&D contract for structural steel. Novelist Tile was the prime contractor. SDVOB Prime, Transit Resources, was awarded a $3 million New York City HQ contract for subway cars. SDVOB subcontractor, MC Furman and Associates, was awarded an HQ real estate contract for $3.8 million. That concludes my presentation.
I just want to highlight that Zion Contracting is a program alumni. So he participated in the Small Business Development Program, and he's one of the key examples of the success of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Deputy Chief Norman, if you could please report on our utilization work.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I am reporting on SDVOB payments for the third quarter. So actually, since April through December, we are exceeding the SDVOB payments as compared to last fiscal year. Over $637 million in MTA payments issued during this current fiscal year. 8% of those payments went to certified SDVOB firms. So that shows a 1% increase in payments with SDVOB firms. Okay. When considering payments to MWBEs year over year, we are maintaining 32% of payments to MWBEs. It's a slight decrease, a 0.5%, as compared to the previous fiscal year, but the overall payments are higher. And so we anticipate staying on track with meeting our MWBE goals. We're also presenting a view by industry. So you'll see a breakdown of the payments by industries for commodities, construction consultants, construction and service consultants, so you can see where the payments are being made. So this gives you an overview. And the breakdown was provided for SDVOB firms as well as MWBEs. Okay. We're also providing to you the DBE awards. We are currently short of the DBE participation when compared to the last fiscal year. This is driven by the design build contract awards with underdeveloped scopes. So we expect as the projects progress, DBE participation will increase over time. All right, but the DBE program is evaluated by awards versus the state's program that is evaluated by payments. Okay. All right. So we're considering outreach. From April to December of 2024, DDCR has participated in 23 outreach events sponsored by various advocacy groups. Additionally, DDCR held 6 virtual DBE certification workshops and 4 virtual new firm orientations for vendors interested in doing business with the MTA. We also hosted 1 large-scale MTA outreach event in September that you are aware of. And we held in-person DBE workshops for the Regional Alliance for Small Contractors and a virtual DBE workshop for the National Association of Minority Contractors. Of the 242 firms engaged last quarter, 83 had no MWDBE or SDVOB certification, so we are currently exploring certification eligibility with those firms. When considering DBE certification activity, in 2024, we had an increase of applications. We had 126 applications for DBE certification versus the previous year where we had 107 applications. Of the total new applications, 88 firms were certified, and the average processing days were 55 in 2024. So we are making an effort to increase the number of applications, and we will be reaching out to new partners or trying to identify new partnerships for certification to increase our overall engagement with DBE firms for certification. Okay. We also like to highlight a success story that is non-construction. And so here we are featuring Empire Electronics, which is a WBE firm. Empire Electronics is a New York State certified WBE that has been working with the MTA for more than 10 years and has successfully won discretionary and competitive bid opportunities. They have become a reliable and trusted resource over the years. Nancy Pavis established Empire Electronics in 1983 and considers herself a woman-owned pioneer in the electronics and commodities distribution marketplace. What makes them a value add is they maintain authorized partnerships with many major technology manufacturers utilized by the MTA. And so we're happy that they participate in our discretionary and non-discretionary competitive bid opportunities on the in procurement. Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's okay. Just going back to the previous slide, the certification activity.
Okay.
So for 2024, for example, I see that 88 firms were certified from 126, but it doesn't mean that the balance were not eligible for certification. It could very well mean that their applications are still ongoing and still reviewing.
Right.
Okay.
We didn't provide the breakdown, but sometimes firms have to withdraw their applications to provide us with more documentation. The application could still be pending with us.
Right.
Or they were found ineligible.
Okay.
So it's a combination of all those things.
Got it. Thank you
Yes.
very much. Just that.
Okay. All right. So, but back to Nancy. That's okay. Nancy has done over $2.5 million with the MTA over the past 5 years. And, you know, it's just to show that, you know, sometimes slow and steady wins the race. You know, so all of the contractors are not going to be over 10 million or 50 million, but they are able to participate in consistent opportunities for discretionary and small purchases with procurement, and that is a value add to us. Okay.
Thank you. Wanted to speak for a moment about the 2025-29 capital plan. I know members of the board have heard. We do. Have you heard about it? Yeah. Yes, I know members of our board have heard a lot about it. Members of the public hopefully have heard a lot about it as well. You know, it's a very ambitious but desperately needed plan. But what I'd like to focus on, if I may, is just the opportunities for the MWDBE and SDVOB community. There's been a lot of discussion about the overall plan and its individual components, which folks, you know, hopefully are very aware of it. But what folks may not know is that we did a deeper dive into the proposed program to look at where there are some third-party contracting opportunities to try to assess the impact for our MWDBE and SDVOB community. We are anticipating that there will be approximately $6.5 to $7.5 billion in subcontracting opportunities for MW and SDVOB firms. We see another $0.5 to $1 billion in DBE potential spend over the next 5 years. So the capital plan, I thought it was important to use this as an opportunity to speak to not just the importance of the capital plan to the MTA and for all New Yorkers, but the economic impact that this will have on our historically underutilized and small businesses. In addition to the anticipated spend with historically underutilized businesses, the MTA has also made substantial commitments to working with our small businesses, including awarding $400 million through our small business mentoring program, attaching local hiring goals to about $5 billion worth of contracts. We're anticipating that will create from 5,000 to 10,000 jobs. So we're making sure that the work and the economic benefit stays in the community. And over the next 5 years, we're anticipating certifying another 300 DBE firms and adding another 350 more firms to the small business mentoring program. So again, it's everyone's hearing about the capital plan. I don't think we talk enough about the impact and how that trickles down into our local community. And I just wanted to take an opportunity to highlight those impacts. So if there are no questions, we can move on to quarter four ERG events.
I just want to say that makes, I mean, that number is so important because, you know, we by far, the MTA by far has more, you know, DBE participation, you know, than any other agency in the state. And that makes us, you know, as a single entity, one of the, you know, biggest drivers of of potential wealth equity, right? There's a lot of different types of equity, but why is it so important is, we see so many disparities, and this is such an important piece of that. This is because driving diversity, driving equity is so much more than just being able for people to have jobs. This is able for people to actually, close that wealth gap, which is a long way to go. But the MTA represents, one of the biggest drivers of that, and that's a really important, number and point to that.
Yeah, thank you for that. When you consider that small businesses, not just MWs and DBEs and SDOs, small businesses are the economic engine of the state of New York. And this capital plan not only has the potential to impact the transit availability for all New Yorkers, but really, when we're talking about $7.5 billion over 5 years, that is really significant and substantial economic benefit to our small businesses. So we're really looking forward to seeing this program implemented and giving us an opportunity to relay and make those contracting opportunities available to our small businesses.
Great.
Just to report on our Q4 ERG work, I'll be asking Deputy Chief Marrow to make that report, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Our ERGs. So our ERGs are an important element of the fabric of MTA's workforce life, which allows groups of employees with specific interests to meet and create bonds around those shared interests. While the groups are organized around specific interests and affinities, our ERG membership is open to all employees, and members do not need to be a representative of those specific affinity groups to join or participate in ERG-sponsored events. So I'm going to start with some of our highlights. December 10th, Diversity and Inclusion in Motion for 2024. We focused on a sense of belonging, ending the year thanking our ERG leads who give tirelessly to their members and the MTA. In connection with this particular event, there was a recruitment fair for the Long Island Railroad. We were able to engage with over 100 employees. Of those 120 new members signed up for one of the 10 ERGs that we have. Moving on, February 6th, our all-generational ERG hosted an all-day exhibit showcasing the efforts of creativity of the all-generational members participating in a year-long joint train module building initiative. So the group decided on 3 generations of New York City Transit subway cars representing their ERG all-generational theme, the R62, R46, and the new R211. In this particular event, we had approximately 207 attendees. February 20th was our Black History Month celebration, which was hosted by our Begin Black Employee Group for Inclusion and Networking. And this particular event, the theme was African Americans and labor, which focused on the various and profound ways that work and working of all kinds, free, unfree, skilled, unskilled. And so this celebration included some performances, which were really great. In total, 301 employees, of which 161 was in person and 140 attended virtually. And we are in the month of March, celebrating Women's History Month, our EWT, ERG. The first event that they hosted was a panel discussion, which spoke about ERG experience in combination with leadership development. We had approximately 99 attendees, 18 in person, 81 virtually. The second event, which focused on approval for outside activities, which was inclusive of our compliance officer, in addition to employees within the compliance office. And that was really great for employees to get a good understanding of approvals needed for any outside activity. That was hosted virtually, 89 attendees. EWT will also recognize 25 women within MTA that have been nominated and recognized by their peers. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Marrow. That concludes our report. Just wanted to point out that even though we're joined this morning by our deputy chiefs and other members of our senior leadership team, what you have on the screen is a photograph of the entire DDCR team. We're about 75 strong, committed group of professionals.
Hey, thank you. Well, I don't think do you have any questions? I just want. I mean, I think it's a really important time to say it. That, and I think I can confidently speak for the majority, at least, of our board. That diversity and inclusion remains, a priority, a big priority. I mean, I talked a little bit about New York in a previous committee meeting. Diversity, inclusion. That's what New York is. Diversity, right? That's what makes it special. It's the heart of New York, right? I think it's why people don't like us sometimes so much. So that means we have to make sure we just do it right and do it better, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will.
People question this, and you should never go to work questioning what you do is really important, and they're right. I think we're at a time where people are actually having to figure out whether or not they're going to be, on the right side of history again, right? And I think we really want to be. So, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I don't have a quorum, so I'll just adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Have a good day.